Okay. We are live. Do we have any people? It's telling me that we have no people. It's saying no people. Alright. We'll start in a couple of minutes. We'll only have about 30 minutes to do stuff. We'll just do a recap of everything really quickly for this week. I just want to make sure that we have all the features down, and assemblies will hit really hard next week, so we don't have to worry about those right now. We'll start in like 5 or 10 minutes. many people do we have? It's telling me just one. I'd like to think that there's more than one, but, you know. Oh, it's 2. Oh my gosh. 2 people. No way. Might have to start at, might start at 3, just because 30 minutes is enough time, and people get out of school. Some people at 2:45. You're good. All right. Let's see. 2:50. Yeah, we'll give it 5 more minutes and then we'll start. Actually, we'll go ahead and start. Yeah, we'll go ahead and start. Begins at, what time is it? 22. Okay. So you'll be in this page out. Those who are here know how to use this, but those who will watch the stream later might not. So you'll just have to bear with me. So we'll go ahead and create a document. So real quick, we'll go over all the 2D sketching tools and what they do, and then we'll go over the 3D tools. So these are extrusion, revolving, sweep, loft, thicken. These are 3D tools. We'll go over those later. For now, we have L for line. Actually, let me get into a sketch. That might help a little bit. L for line. When you create a piece of geometry, whether it be a line, square, circle, whatever, that little box that shows up immediately after you can hit whatever number you want. You can, if you don't have a dimension here, you can hit D to dimension. And it'll allow you to select any line, any point. I can select the distance between this point here and this point here, and I can say this is 3, whatever. If I were to select the distance between 2 lines, it'll do a degree, so I can say I want this to be 180 degrees, 270 degrees, etc. Can drag to select all that. R for center point rectangle. The drop down's up here. Center point rectangle, aligned rectangle. This is basically just a... This might be useful if you have like some sort of protrusion sticking out, and then you want to have a piece stick out. I could say like, oh, I want this to stick out that way. That's what that's kind of good for. You'll mostly be using center point rectangle, which is R, and then corner rectangle, which is G. C for circle. As always, if I don't have the dimension here, I can just select that and say there. If anybody has any questions, ask them. Anybody's stuck on any little bitty thing. 3-point arc. So let's say I had like a bar that was like 8x2, and I wanted to kind of make this corner smooth. What I could do is I could either fillet it using this tool right here. I can fillet this down, hit enter again, and then I can edit this radius right here and make it, you know, 1/2 inch, whatever. Or what I can do is get rid of that fillet, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. I can Control Y to redo. I can also create a 3-point arc right here, and that creates an arc for me. I set the radius to be tangent to this line, but I can instead make the radius whatever I want if I don't set that definition. I can say like, oh, I want this to be over here, and then I want this to be wherever. But if I immediately type after I create the 3-point arc, so if I say this, bring it over here, and then immediately begin typing, it'll do a radius for me. So I can say, edit this as I'm going along. We've got tools, kind of niche tools like text, you know, if I need to do some text, it'll create that. I can scale the size of the text. Can get rid of it. Then you've got trim, which is kind of a weird one. Instead of deleting something, I haven't found a practical application for trim over delete, but it allows you to just like snip things out of the way. Then I can say like, oh, I want to extend this out or something like that. And then you've got a split, which is kind of a weird one, but it allows you to split a line in half or split along things. It's sometimes useful. It's useful for just splitting a line in half when you need to. So if I've got like, I don't know, if I'm creating a robot chassis, I say like this is 32 by 2, and I'm designing like a virtual 4-bar bot. Well, instead of creating a line like that and then having it go up or creating definition, I can just split it right there, and then define this point to this point instead. Your inscribed polygons are for, you've got inscribed polygons, which is the internal, and then circumscribed polygons are the opposite, circles on the outside. So, but this is for making your hex shafts and things like that. So I can do that and say like, oh, you know, this will make any polygon that you need, whether it's a triangle, hex shaft, whatever. So I can say, okay, this is a hex shaft, so make this, you know, 1-inch hex shaft. Or I can even define this circle here as 1 inch. So 1-inch hex shaft, 1/2 inch hex shaft. You can import a part. You can import one thing that's nice about on-chip. You can import all kinds of files. You can import Parasolid from SolidWorks, or the other one from SolidWorks. You can import files, STLs. It'll automatically create it into a triangle mesh, etc., etc. So it's very compatible with all the other CAD softwares. It allows you to import anything that you... It's Carbor Robotics, not Car Robotics, whatever. But it allows you to import any file that you want from other softwares. It's very... works together. If you already have all of your parts in one software, it's easy to import all your parts into Onshape. And it loads nice and quickly, even though I'm running on computers from like the 90s, so it can't load complex assemblies. But it can. It just takes a little while. But if I were to run this on like a non-cloud-based software, or run it on like Fusion or SolidWorks 3D Experience, it would just not load at all. Like it would just crash, or memory leak or something like that. It would not work very well. So Onshape is particularly good for those who lack good hardware. Splines are nice and easy. You could math it out, but generally splines are just for making like weird, intake shapes, or just freeform things. It's easy to drag these points and move them around. You've also got Bezier curves, which are kind of the same thing, but they're a little bit more mathematical in what they do. Obviously, you've got points that you can create, and then I can define points off of whatever. I haven't ever used points. I haven't ever had to use them. We'll go over some modeling techniques. Let's say I want to model like a bar with a bunch of holes in it. What I can do is say, okay, 1 inch, 2 inch, and you're welcome to follow along with this if you'd like. This is probably a good thing to follow along with. Make that 16 inches. Say, okay, I want to put a hole. If I mouse over something and that little box is yellow, that means that I'm selecting the center of that. If you say a yellow box and like a point, it means I'm selecting the center of that. So I select the center of this and then go... So I mouse over this and then I go out a bit, create my circle, 1 inch. So then I can define the distance between this and this to be 1 inch. And I don't have to create a definition between here and here because it's in the center. Of course, what I could do is, these are constraints that pop up. I could delete this horizontal constraint and then say, okay, I want this to be 1 inch, or I want this to be, 1.25 inches or something like that. But I can say 2 divided by 1 inch is 2 inches. I can say 1 divided by 2, half an inch. 1 over 1, 2 over 2. I can do any math, say square root of a square root of 1. Square root of 1 is 1. So, but now I've got this. I can linear pattern that. Instead of doing this 8 more times for the whole bar, I can linear pattern this. Say I want them to be 2 inches apart from each other, and I want there to be 8 of them. Boom. And if this bar was just a little thicker, like if this was a... do I have the definition for this? If I said this was like 4 inches, get rid of that dimension right there. This is 4 inches. I could do it. Actually, let me undo that right there. If this was a 4 inches right here, that's why you always want to have your definitions on the outside so they're easier to find. And then I linear patterned it. I could easily say like, I want 8 of these. I want them. No, I want 2 inches apart, and then I want 8 of them. Ta-da! And then I could have them a separate section going here, 2 inches apart, and it goes 2 times. I'll set this to negative so it goes the other way, and then I can create a linear pattern there. So linear pattern's pretty nice. I'm going to delete this sketch and make a new one. If I had a gear, for instance, let's say this is my gear. It's got a like 6 inch gear, and I need a hex shaft for 6 inches. 1 inch hex shaft. And then I need holes here to drill into. All I can do, I can just create one hole. Have this, this is a 1/4 inch hole. And what I can do is say, this is going to be 1/4 inch away from the center. And then I can circular pattern it. Can select this. And there's a little square in here in the middle. I can move around where it's going to circular pattern it. We'll just have that be in the middle. I want 6 of these. And boom, holes. And so when you're modeling a robot, it saves a lot of time. It's very useful to do that. And then you've got your... If I had like a complex, let's say I had like a Coke can, I don't know, or something. Let's say I had like some piece of geometry that I was making, you know, some teeth or something like that. And it was like a really weird bit of geometry or something. What I can do is I can mirror that across the middle. I can select a plane as my mirror line, which is really nice. And then I can mirror that. And it will do that for me. Kind of looks like a bird. You know, it's like there's the head, there's the beak, and then there's a wing sticking out. You know, there's the tail. Anyway. Let's see, anything else to hit? Definitions. So if I've got a bunch of lines, right? Separate lines. These right here are your definitions. So I can say tangent if I've got a circle right here. I want this to be tangent to that. Now it'll be perfectly on the edge. Anytime I move it, it'll be tangent. That's useful for, you know, pulleys, gears, things like that. You've got your coincident. It'll make them touch. So if I have these two, it'll make them touch. Perpendicular. Right here. This is for making things perpendicular. You've got vertical, make things vertical. Horizontal. Parallel. You've got equal. And then you've got other different ones like, oh, I want this to be, you know, the midpoint of that. That's kind of a bad example. I want this to be the midpoint of that. So it'll put it right on the midpoint. You've got different ones. These are pretty useful. Yeah, symmetric is kind of just basically mirror. Fix is really useful because what I can say is this is now fixed. I can't move it anywhere. And then I can move all the other geometry wherever I want because it's fixed to that point. So if you've got a part that you like need to be in that position, you can fix it. Fixing is really useful. Anything else I need to hit? No. Okay, we'll go on to 3D stuff. So, extrusion. If I have, you know, a cube, and then I've got like, I don't know, whatever. Extrusion will allow me to make it go up. I can set how high it is. I can set, I want this to be up to a face, and then I can select some other object up to next. It's like the next part. Through all, we'll just do it until it hits all the parts. Up to vertex, I can select like a point, but that's not a good example. I can always use make connectors as my points. We'll get into that. We'll get into make connectors next week a lot more. But generally, I'll just be doing a blind extrusion. I can add. And what I can do is create another extrusion. I don't want to save. And say like, okay, I'm going to extrude this out, but I want to remove. I want to remove it through all. And that'll create that geometry right there. Filleting, Shift F. That's for smoothing things out. Chamfer, I don't think it has a hotkey. It's for the same thing, but it cuts it like that. So once again, filleting, it'll smooth things out. This is you should always smooth your parts out when you're cutting them out on plexiglass, just because, you know, this year, if you were to, you know, do your intake and you were to have a corner, it would definitely like pop a cube sometime during during the year, so you'd want to smooth that out. And you can have the CNC machine smooth it out for you while it's cutting the part, instead of having to get a file and just file it out for forever. You can fill it before you cut out the part or order it. Lofting, I haven't really had to use lofting very much. It's very useful for personal projects, but for FRC I haven't had too much of a thing use for it. Plane, you can create, planes are very nice. I can create a mid plane between like the front and the top plane. It'll make a horizontal plane, but what I'm going to do right now is offset that plane, make it up one, and then I'm going to do that again. No, not path, plane. We went over feature scripts and App Store stuff yesterday, so you can watch that live stream to know about those. So if I got a sketch right here, that's like, I don't know, a circle. Now, if I loft these two sketches, it'll do like that. It'll create geometry in between them. And then if I do that again, get rid of that loft, and loft it again. Ta-da! So it's pretty nice for some niche things. Maybe if you're making a mount for something or whatever. Get rid of that. You've got your hole wizard for creating screw holes. You've got drafting. Drafting is kind of niche in its uses. Drafting is generally for cast molding and things like that. But if I extrude, I don't want to do that. If I extrude something, I can draft it. And that makes it go out just the tiniest bit. You can see it's kind of sticking out just a bit on each side. So, not terribly useful, but maybe you can make a trapezoid with it. Mirroring, you can obviously mirror parts. You can transform parts. I can, translate them by XYZ. I can translate them by a line. So if I have like a line that's like 1 inch long and I select it, it'll move it 1 inch in that way. I can rotate things, copy and place, scale. We'll go over transforming a bunch next week. This is surface modeling. You're not going to need to use surface modeling FRC, although it is good to know, so I will go over it eventually in the coming, maybe week 4 or 5, I will go over how to do surface modeling. No, it's not useful for FRC very much, but it is useful for workplace applications, making like actual commercials and consumer parts, making, casings that are made out of plastic, car parts, things like that. That's where surface modeling has its uses. Now you've got your mirrors and your surface linear patterns and your booleans and all that in your, 3D sketching as well. Real quick, we'll do an exercise and model something a bit more complex. We'll do desk speaker. If you all have something that you can think of that'd be fun to model, then you're welcome to suggest it. Oh, I've got 10 people now. Nice. I think I might do this right here. Yeah, that speaker right there. I think I might do that. If you all have any suggestions for modeling objects, then feel free to suggest them. Okay, I like this. We're going to download this image. Speaker. And then we're going to import that image. Speaker. I don't think it downloaded right. No, it downloaded right. I don't think it finished downloading though, so we'll do that again. There we go. Now it's an image. That's a bit odd. We'll see if I can't make it into a plane. So we'll do a sketch, and then we'll go to image, insert image. No, okay. These are not compatible images. But what I can instead do is just take a screenshot of this image. Ta-da. Now that I have a screenshot of this image, I can save it. Da-da-da. Wait, where did I save that to? Pictures. So then I can import my image. This PC. And then I can insert the image. And I'm going to put it right here. Move it over here. There we go. And I can set like the dimensions of this image to be a bit larger, but we're just going to do it that big. Okay, so now I'm making these speakers in 3D. So first we'll do this little base right here. This seems to just be like a... Can't really get a top view of that, but we'll just guess that the top view of that kind of looks like... So we'll go to our top plane, create a new sketch, and then insert the image again. There we go. And then we'll create a new sketch. And I'll say, okay, that's probably like a... Start with a square. You know, it's got a square base, and say 3 by 4, I guess. And then these are obviously smooth, so we'll fill it the corners. Filled it by a little bit more. Say, there you go. So then I can extrude that up just a tiny bit. And we'll set the color real quick. Now they lean back a bit, but we're not going to do that. We don't need to do that. So we're going to hit U for use, and we're going to use this geometry, which will just take whatever I select, and it'll just create a reference point off of that. So create a line back here. And we'll just extrude this front bit up a bit. Right now we're just blocking it out. We'll edit it more later. Okay. So this face right here seems to stick out a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll maybe we can get away with thickening it. Okay, so we can thicken that. So what we'll do is we'll create a plane right here. We'll offset this by 2 inches, 3 inches. Nah, 2.5. 2.5, and then we'll split this part. Select this part, and then entity to split with, the plane. Boom. And then we can thicken... No, I don't want to share. We can thicken this right here. By like, I don't know, 0.1. And then we can fill it, this right here. And this right here. by just a tiny amount. Point 0.1. Let me zoom in a bit. So we got 0.1 is that. Yeah, I think 0.1's good. And then we can have this second be like a different color. So I can add appearance to feature. Make it like grayish, lighter gray. Make it a bit of a red maybe. Nah, I don't like that. Just make it a darker gray. And then there's a little speaker thing. We're not going to bother with the mesh, but we will do like a circle here. And we'll extrude it a bit inward. Say like 0.1. Remove. And then we will chamfer this. Now I have chamfer set on 2 distances, so. And then we'll use that draft right now. Like I said, draft is pretty good for decorative things. So I can extrude this by like 0.1 and then draft it by like 30 degrees inward. So we'll set that more like 60 inward. Nah, we'll set it to 30 or 40. That's good. And then we'll do the knob. So the knob kind of goes in a bit, so we'll do that in bit a little. So I've got my knob. I'm going to hit P to hide my planes real quick. So I've got my knob. So the knob is like 1 inch. Move it up right a little bit. We'll remove that little, because you see it goes in just the tiniest bit. Like that, it's going in just a little bit, so we'll do that by, like, I don't know, 0.1, 0.05. Just a little bit to where it's noticeable. And then we'll make that, let's see, make that little red bit. So we will, so that red bit will be, actually what we can do is offset this right here. Make it go the other way. Hit enter. 0.1. Nah, I want that to be very little. 0.025. Then I can extrude this knob. But, you know, this knob's a bit like, you know. Actually, the knob's pretty smooth, so extrude that out. And then we will chamfer this corner right here. No, I hit draft. I want to chamfer it. Hit the wrong thing. Chamfer. Make it like 0.05. Okay, we need to make that a bit shorter. I don't think that's how that's supposed to be. So I'll make that half as big. That looks better. And then we can go in here and color that face right here. We'll make us a new color. Get rid of that color. We'll say this red, but we get rid of the green. Nope, that's wrong. Edit face appearance. Just do a little bit of green. Yeah, reckon that's good. Add that as a custom color. And where else do we have red? A little bit of red right here. We'll do our red. Where else do we have red? Got a logo on that one. Yeah, so it leans back a bit. It's not 1-to-1, obviously, but it's close enough for government work. There's a little dent right there we'll do. Yeah, they've got a little dent right there. We'll do that. Do we have any questions? No, anything that somebody wants me to model as like an example, or like they're having trouble modeling, you know, any project, personal project they're working on. It really doesn't matter as long as it's something to do in CAD. I'm more than happy to do it. So we'll get our spline tool right now. We will do like that. Move this down a bit so that it mirror that. That's our mirror line. Select our spline. I forgot to, in this sketch, I need to close it off right here. We'll do remove, merge with all, and then make it symmetric just to be sure. So now we've got that little dent right there. Make the insides of this black. We'll go ahead and shade this without edges to see what it looks like. It's pretty good. We'll add the little nubs. It's been 20 minutes and he's already got a speaker. Make that by like point. Okay. Doesn't look perfect, but you know, it's kind of close. But it gives you the idea. I've got about 10, 20 different tools here, so you know, product design, these tools are useful. FRC, not so much. Good to know them though. It's just so that you have the full mastery over the site. We only got 5 minutes left, so if anybody has any questions, I'll go ahead and answer them. Alright, I'll have to let everybody go at 3:30, but if anybody has questions, anything they're working on, anything that they're wondering, any little thing, go ahead and ask it. If you're working on like a personal project that you need help with, you know, go ahead and ask it. If you're working on, you know, it doesn't matter what CAD it is, if you're working on Blender, Fusion, SolidWorks, whatever. I know all these, so if you're wondering how to model something in there, just go ahead and ask. I'll sit here for a little bit and let anybody ask any questions they want. I encourage people to ask any questions if they're a little confused on something. If they're trying to get into something, they want some practice. Anything. I'm here to help. You can always ask questions in the Discord, and you can always ask questions in the comments. Is there any part that I need to go over? Doesn't seem like we have any questions, but I'll sit here for 2 more minutes. And if anybody has any, then feel free to ask. I encourage you to try and replicate things like this. Take a product, furniture, laptop, keyboard, remote, TV, objects like that. Just model them as practice. It's good practice. There's a reason to do it. Modeling quickly is the key to succeeding in the design process, because you're able to churn out prototypes really quickly and review them with the rest of your team. Next week, we'll go over everything that I haven't gone over. We'll go over more things on mating and transforming. We'll go on some actual robot parts. We'll make a robot chassis, and we'll make a virtual 4-bar robot designed by Carbo Robotics. We'll go over their design for their robot, similar one to that, and then we'll go over how to make that stuff together in 3D and in 2D. Not Carbo Robotics' current robot, but a design that they had showed me that I really liked. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and end stream. Speak now if you have any questions. If not, we'll wrap it up. Remember, you can always ask questions, and you can email the Megabytes. You can ask in the comments. You can ask in the Discord if you're in the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, you can ask for that in the comments, etc., etc. We're always here to help. That's our sole purpose, is to help other people. It's the only reason we're doing this, is to help people. If we're not helping people, there's no point in doing the classes. Alright, 3:30. See you, everyone. Have a good day. Good luck modeling.